was nearly midnight when Daniel arrived at Drowning Hill, a name whispered in his grandmother's stories but never marked on any map. The land stretched bleak beneath a darkened sky, winds slicing through the barren trees like whispers from unseen mouths. He had inherited the house after the sudden death of his Uncle Harold, a man no one in the family spoke of beyond faint mentions and lingering silences. The directions led him past 2 abandoned towns and down a winding road of mud and moss until the headlights revealed the house, 3 stories tall, wooden, blackened by time, with windows like hollow eyes watching him approach. The house stood on the highest point of the hill, and at its base coiled a stream that circled like a moat. Daniel stepped from the car, boots sinking slightly into the damp earth, and the moment he crossed the threshold, he felt the air shift. Not colder, but thicker, heavier. As if the house itself had inhaled in anticipation, he found the keys left for him inside the mailbox, along with a single note in handwriting he didn't recognize. Do not go to the basement before the 3rd night. He pocketed it with a frown. Stepping inside, the wooden floorboards groaned beneath him, not in protest, but almost in welcome. The walls were lined with portraits of people with faces that blurred when looked at directly, and the mirrors throughout the hallways showed not his reflection, but him walking slightly behind himself. On the first night, he slept fitfully, the house whispering through the walls, floor creaking with soft footsteps that were not his own. He heard the slow creak of a rocking chair above him, despite the attic being locked. The second day he explored the rooms, finding strange symbols carved into door frames and a heavy smell of salt water in the dining room. Though the sea was miles away, every time he looked at the old grandfather clock in the hall, the hands pointed to different times, never ticking forward. On the second night, he heard humming, low and wet, like someone singing underwater. It came from the cellar door at the end of the hallway, the one his uncle had warned him not to open. But it was locked, and he told himself it was just his imagination. Yet that night, he dreamt of the house floating in a black ocean, its windows glowing like eyes, something knocking from inside the floorboards. On the 3rd day, he found the old journal in the library, bound in human skin, though he hoped it wasn't. The pages were written in 2 different hands, his uncle's and a far older, more erratic scrawl that mentioned the deep listener, a presence sealed beneath the hill fed by silence and sleep. The journal warned that the house was not a house, but a tether, holding something in place, and every generation someone must tend to it, keep it asleep. Daniel didn't want to believe it until the lights began flickering at sunset, and the humming returned, now clearer, almost melodic, almost familiar. He approached the basement door again, and this time it was open, not wide, but just enough to invite curiosity or doom. He stepped inside, flashlight flickering, and descended the stairs that creaked but never ended. The deeper he went, the more he realized the space beneath the house was far too vast, the staircase spiraling down endlessly into wet stone and pulsing air, until he reached a chamber where water dripped from a ceiling unseen, and at the center lay a stone pool, black as ink, still as death. From its surface rose faint sounds of breathing, then voices, not echoing, but mimicking, repeating things Daniel had said earlier in the day over the years, from his childhood, even thoughts he never spoke aloud. The pool remembered, and it waited. Across the chamber stood a figure, not cloaked, not shadowed, but simply blurred like a memory fading or a dream half-formed. It beckoned to him, speaking not with words but pulses in his skull, images of his uncle being dragged into the pool, of his grandmother turning away, of every soul the house had claimed, all part of a cycle older than time. Daniel backed away, but the room did not allow escape. Walls shifting, door gone, and the pool rising, tendrils of black water stretching toward him, whispering his name not from one mouth, but thousands, overlapping, devouring his resistance. He screamed. The sound was swallowed. The finger placed a hand on his chest, and suddenly he could see, through time, through memory, through every version of himself that had ever lived, standing in the same place, all facing the same choice, and all eventually kneeling, offering their minds to the deepest to preserve the thin veil that kept the world sane. The entity did not feed on blood, but remembrance. It required a kingdom to remember its names, its faces, to store the weight of its existence in their soul, so it wouldn't spill into the waking. Like those before him, gave in, he returned from the basement changed, quieter, slower, his eyes sunken as if peering at something behind every surface. He removed all mirrors, spoke to no one, and remained in the house on Drowning Hill as the new tether. And when villagers far away spoke of nightmares and tide water in their basements, they never connected it to the man who now sat still in the attic, whispering lullabies to something beneath the floor that should never be sung to sleep, but must never wake.